Hello and welcome to Hill and Ponton Q&A session on veterans benefits. I'm here, Matthew Hill with Carol Ponton. We've got some interesting stuff, I'll say, to talk about with BVA and where they are. We're going to wait a little bit on that so that we have more folks on. We came on early, and I know that's going to throw some people off. So we're just going to start with some questions, and then maybe halfway through or so, we'll talk about what we learned talking to and hearing from the chairman of the board of directors.
Yeah, we spent last week in Washington, and we were able to hear not only the head of benefits for VA, but the head of the chief judge for the BVA. So we got some good information. It's not great to hear, but it's the truth.
Okay. Yeah. And so we'll get back to that, but let's look and see what we have in questions. Help. Thank you all for coming back, by the way. Appreciate it. It's good to see you guys back too. Shimp Howard, good day, folks. I had a cervical strain, service connected with arthritis, and now have nerve impingement bilateral. Is that a secondary claim? It is a secondary claim, but if those issues were brought up during your claim, then that should be part of your first claim. And the reason why I bring that up is that the VA just wants you to enter a new claim, a new supplemental claim, or a new 526. And they give you the effective date, the date of that 526. So if you had a CMP exam for your cervical spine, and you had a competent medical individual looking at you, one of the things they should have done is look and see if there's any radiculopathy down your arms or your shoulders. So
what we do is we call it a complication of your cervical strain. So that means that hopefully we get the onset date, the effective date you start getting paid, back to when you filed the claim for cervical, because our argument is the VA should have checked for any known complications of a cervical strain. So you might want to put in there complication of cervical strain, bilateral radiculopathy.
There you Okay, Law Dog, glad you guys sponsored Combat Craig. He's a lot of fun, and he's very informative too. Sab Fam, any updates on HLRs from Nova? Any updates on the HLR system?
No, we didn't get anything on that.
We didn't get anything on the HLR itself, other than it's a quick lane because nobody's using it much. So people are seeing turnarounds in weeks, months the most, but they're the what do you call it? VBA undersecretary said that he's pressing to get a 2-week turnaround. That's not happening yet, but that's where they want to be.
Well, unfortunately, we're getting 1 day and 2 day turnarounds when they deny.
Yeah, the denials come quickly. Everybody tells you get good decisions. They get decisions quickly. Well, they're either denials or what I would call an underrating. Or
yes,
blowing
but mostly denials.
Yeah.
And that's why no one's really using that lane.
Yeah. AB, I just had a CMP for my urinary frequency secondary to my back. I had to reevaluate my back as well. Hopefully my 40% of my back will not decrease. Those are separately rated issues. So just because you had a urinary test does not mean that your back should decrease, unless somehow the back, the arthritis or whatever other issues you're having with the back got better, but that should not affect your back.
But remember, you also want to ask for a copy of these CMP exams to see what was said exactly. For instance, I had a veteran I was talking about the fact that they were service connected for their headache, but they got a 0. He had told them that he has to lie down, so they're prostrating, and that he has missed work numerous times because of them. But the examiner wrote that he didn't say that. So you always want to check those CMP exams to make sure they're accurate. And if not, you need to put a contrary statement in there saying what you actually said. And you want to do this for both urinary in particular. I see that sometimes people will say, well, I have to change pads or I have to go to the bathroom so many times. And when they look at what the examiner put down, it's far less frequent than what they told them.
So let's see here. The next one we have is turnaround time. What's the normal turnaround time for C-file? It just depends. It can still be 6 months. We're still seeing up to a year. We try to download the e-folder, which we can access on the VA server. It's great because it gives us quick access to see what's going on right now in the file, but it's not complete. We find a lot of discrepancies, so we still always order the file. And when you're talking about the work we're doing as far as finding a stressor or finding an effective date or finding a correct rating
or a legal error.
Yeah, legal error. You want to review every single piece of that file. So it's not great, but we're ordering the e-folder at least lets us go forward in a lot of cases.
And the head of benefits told us that he has put, I don't know how many people onto the task of uploading all those files, of copy them so they're all on e-folder. He wants everything to be digital as soon as possible. And there's a lot of effort going into that. And that's going to help get us these folders much quicker.
How do you ask for a copy of your C-file, or excuse me, your CMP? You should be able to get it through your medical records, right?
Right. All you have to do is send a letter to the VA, and they're much quicker at sending you. If you ask for your C folder, it's going to take longer. But if you ask for a copy of the CMP exams, for instance, you just had, they should be able to turn that around very quickly.
All right. 10 toes down. Hi, do you think that by saying adequate exams are inadequate, the VBA is possibly setting itself up for CUBs? And an exam, a CMP exam, falls under what's called the VA's duty to assist. They have a duty to assist getting records, getting medical records, getting statements, getting, in this case, a CMP exam. The courts, federal circuit has come out, this was years ago, saying that a duty to assist error is not a basis for CUE. So I do not think that would work in your instance.
Right. You need to complain while the appeal is live.
Yeah. You want to stay away from Q as long as you can, because that's just
it's very difficult.
Yeah, hard to win. Let's see, Nicholas. I got 100% PMT for an issue that was supposed to be reduced once stable, and then rated for residuals. I had it for 10 years, but just got rated. Should I be worried that the VA made a mistake?
I'd like to know what it's for, because it is 20 years. Other than that, they can reduce it. So yeah. I'm not sure. I get ratings. I just got one, and I knew it was wrong when I saw it, but they made it. And then it just got a Q claim for them, seeing they had done it 6 months ago and wanted to change because they realized they made a mistake. So they do go through these and look. So I would say I don't, you can get permanent and total for things. I'm just not sure which exact issue you were talking about.
All right, that's Nicholas. If we see him again, we'll go back.
Okay.
10 toes down again. When will VA fully utilize special centers for MST related claims?
They haven't set those up yet.
They talk about it. We haven't seen them. Someone wants to file MST appeal, but does not want to be bothered with RO's silliness anymore. That's a very kind way to put that. Unfortunately, we're not seeing these centers. MST cases, we typically have to get right to the board because they just screw it up. I mean, there's so many ways they screwed up. They screwed up actually service connecting it, and they service connect it, they lowball the rating, they get the effective date wrong. So, our goal on those is to get them straight to the board.
But please don't, even though you may not like the way the RO acts, remember, if you don't file and pursue the claim, you're not going to get all those past due benefits. So file it, put up with them, and then get to the BVA. I don't know how long before they set up these MST centers. I mean, we've been hearing about it, but nothing has been done that I've seen so far.
Yeah, so far it's a lot of talk.
Yeah.
Brian L. The CMP exam rolled in my favor for sleep apnea, but the rater denied me. I appealed it to higher review now, and they're saying needing to verify buddy statement and correcting an error. Is that normal, or does that sound like they're ruling in my favor? Well, they didn't deny you. That's kind of where I would start. It's like a push is a win in Vegas. So I would say that they're looking at more information, but what they've realized is the only evidence of record is favorable for you. So they don't have a way to deny you at this point. So hopefully that means they come back and give you the benefits.
Normally at the regional office, they ignore buddy statements, they ignore your statements. But this doctor apparently didn't ignore the examiner. And that was probably part of the basis for saying you should get service connected. That's why they don't want to go forward with this, but they got a problem. So the higher level review may ask somebody else to come in and do an opinion. I don't know what they're going to do. But as Matt says, they got a problem.
Let's see. So Nicholas, do you all ever take clients that are willing to pay regardless of the result? We don't. We take cases on contingency fee, meaning if we don't win, we don't get a fee. It's kind of just ingrained in us now. Like there's lawyers out there who work on an hourly rate, and it's not us. We want to focus on the end goal and not, okay, let me put down 0.1 hours or 0.4 hours that we worked on your case. So we do not do that.
So now we don't look at hours. We work to win the case.
Right.
And so how much ever time that takes, and that's a whole different mindset.
Yeah. A vet's life. Can a dental exam help in a fall claim? I had a bad fall, hurt my knees. Aside from the type of job I did in the Navy, I was denied a claim for my knees because it wasn't documented on my record. If you fell and broke your teeth, yes, that can help. I mean, that's part of the story of you hurting your knee. So yes. Old Sergeant, I have a supplemental claim for back condition pending decision making post CMP. Should I file for sciatica while the supplemental claim is in process, or wait for full decision?
No, I'd clarify a clarification of your pending claim, saying, part of my claim for this is sciatica, and describe exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
I'd attach it to a form, because unfortunately the VA only works at a form. And so if you had filed a 526, or I guess you said a supplemental claim, then attach it and just say amended supplemental claim.
K.A. Asher, I am 10% for Utricaria.
Where are you?
Urticaria. Screw this up. Oh, you're gonna read this whole one right there.
I'm on.
No.
Yeah, I see. Urticaria.
Yeah.
I'm on for the past 4 months. The CFR shows that would authorize. What is the best way to do that? I think that you need to. I just put it very clearly in a letter. You could say memorandum. I'd attach it to a form. There are forms that they use, and I would attach it and explain exactly why you think you're entitled to that rating. And if you have like the prescription for the medication, I'd attach that to it as well.
Yeah, the prescription or even the VA record saying you're on it.
Yeah, either one.
Just make it easiest for them as possible. Jody Stovall, how do you access information about toxic Mountain Home, Idaho Air Force Base? Well, Jody, I want to know what toxins you're talking about. With that base, obviously they had a lot of jets, so they had JP for 6 or 8 or whatever they're up to now. But I want to know what other toxins you're discussing. You can go on the EPA's website and look and see if they say anything about it. But last I heard, that's an operating base, right?
Yeah, I didn't.
So I don't know what they would say, considering it's operating, and they would want to keep any toxins they did have hush hush. The other ones obviously would be any firefighting foam. So that would be the ones you're looking at there. Okay, let's see. Florida Marine. I had a really bad CP exam. Should I request a new one? Yes. And you should write why it was a bad exam, why the examiner did poorly.
Exactly how they treated you, how long it lasts, did they even touch you, what did they measure or not measure? It should be very specific, not just, I didn't get a good exam, and point out why you feel like they didn't give you a good exam. That's very important. And I would argue duty to assist was violated. So you need to tell them a legal error. The duty to assist was you were entitled to an adequate CMP exam.
Okay, Mackenzie, hello again. If I was denied for Meniere's disease because they said it was not service connected, do I need a lawyer to appeal it? It is hard to get a nexus letter from a doctor for it. Thank you. Do you need a lawyer? No. Are you saying if you're saying it's directly service connected, you need to show what was going on in service, if there's an incident or you're just getting, losing your balance or there's something going on.
And you have a witness to it, so you get witness statements.
That's really important. If you're saying it's a secondary condition due to loss of hearing or tinnitus, and your doctor's giving you a runaround about that, then I would submit literature about that, medical literature saying that this, disease A can cause disease B, and say you want a thorough CMP exam where they examine those issues on a secondary basis.
Right.
Let's see. We got 10 toes down. I meant veteran provided private exams. You were talking about the specialized. So we this goes back to the MST issue and then having MST teams. What's frustrating is no matter what you do, they're going to send you to one of their CMP exams. They're going to either deny you flat out or send you to one of their CMP exams. So, we used to, in these cases, try to get out in front and send them in an exam, private exam, say, hey, here's everything you need. Here's a fully developed claim, decide it. Instead, they say, oh, look, there's a medical record. They don't even call it an exam. And they'll say, great, we'll go get a CMP.
Yeah, this raises our duty to assist you by giving you a CMP exam.
Which is just frustrating. So now at this point,
which we call duty to deny rather than duty to assist.
Sabotage.
Duty to sabotage. So
we didn't make that up, but we did definitely use that. So what we would offer you to do, or say you should consider, is that you apply. The person has to go CMP exam, and it's so awful because it's essentially reliving what they went through. And that's just how the system works. And unfortunately, it has to happen that way. And then once you get an exam, maybe they do come out favorable. That would be amazing. But if they don't, at that point, you get a CMP exam both to say why it's related to service, what went on, what's going on now, and why the exam stunk, why the exam is just worthless and should be thrown out.
That's the best way to do it, because normally they will not do another CMP exam after that. But if you send in an exam first, they're definitely going to do one. Yeah. And they're going to go with whatever that says, not with what your doctor said.
All right. Bill McGrath, VA trying to send me back to the same examiner that I went on a BVA remand for. Can I request a different examiner?
Yes.
Yes. And you write a letter and you say, I want a different one. And you say why. You go from there. Carol and Brian. Brian, what? Come on. Give me a little credit here, AG.
Brian's much older.
He doesn't have these looks. Please speak about the problem with VA contractors, LHI, BES, OTI. Oh my gosh. Here goes Carol.
Well, I have no complaint about QTC or VES. The one that my clients, I'm not getting the notices and I'm not going to the exams, but my clients are having a terrible problem with LHI. They're not getting the notification. They're getting notified and called the day before to go 50 miles from where they live, and they get there and say, you don't have an exam. They're getting three exams for the exact same thing. They're getting sent back over and over. So those are the problems that I'm seeing. And I am telling people, I don't know what's going on. And I mentioned this when we were in Washington last week, that this is a problem and I think they need to look into it. But I recommend that you call your congressmen, your senators, and tell them, LHI, you need to identify which one of these programs you're having a problem with and what problem you're having, and that you understand a lot of other veterans are too, because I think this is political. I don't know how these three groups got hired and no one else. And I don't know how it is that LHI is getting so many cases, but they seem to be getting more than the other two to me. So you need to let them know if they're not doing the job they should be doing.
And so again, that's contacting VA, complaining, and it's also contacting your congressman.
Yeah, both. You need to contact both, because the VA in many cases doesn't have a choice about who they get. And it may be that the congressmen and senators are putting pressure on them to use these people. I don't really know how it works, but if you contact both of them, that's how you take care of the problem. You're a voter. That's why us contacted doesn't make them, but they know you're voting and you're in their state, and they want to make sure they make you happy. So please let them know when you're not happy.
Brian L., I was denied GERD even though I was seen 5 times in the military, and it was ruled chronic and was prescribed medication, and I'm still on prescription medication. Should I refile? Yes, that's
absolutely
strange. If it was ruled chronic, you should refile and say this chronic disease is still happening now.
I've seen that with a lot of examiners, though. They say they don't even look at your CMP file. That's your claim file. So you need to make sure that you ask for a different examiner and you get another CMP exam. And I would point out to them, just bring one of the pieces of paper from military where it said chronic on it and let them see that. Don't bring a whole bunch of things, because they won't look at that.
Right. They're very good, small chunks. Nicholas, hyperthyroidism, myxedema was the issue I was referring to. Nicholas was 100% for P&T for this. They're talking about it being reduced, but he's had it for 10 years. Nicholas, I would be concerned about if they're saying they treated you, which I'm not quite understanding what they treated, and it got better. But if it did get better, the diagnosis itself, you want to be looking at the residuals. Okay, you want to see what's going on. And the thing I always see them forget or just completely ignore is if they reduce you from 100%, one thing they don't look at is, do these residuals still keep you from working? And if they don't keep you, if they impede your ability to keep a job, they need to consider unemployability. If that's not an issue here, well then don't worry about that. Just look and see what problems you're having and where on the diagnostic codes, that brain, if you can throw those up, the codes for how they rate it, where those residuals would be to make sure you get the right rating.
So in order to reduce after that long of time, they have to show not only that you've improved, but you've improved to the point that you could go back to work. So you need to look at that. Can you put that up there?
What the
reduction? Yeah.
I don't have that right here. We'll do the next one. I'll look for it. All right, Ivan Borden, presumptive sinusitis and rhinitis claim, can't get medical record from 92 to 02. Doctor passed. Business closed. Have some records more current on both issues. What can I do?
Are you under the presumptive? I'm not sure.
If you're under the presumptive for burn pits,
you don't need those records.
Yeah, those records are, yeah, exactly. And that just came up.
Remember, that just came out. So those really haven't been, you aren't seeing decisions on those yet. But if you're from those burn pits, you don't have, that's one thing they're saying. You were there, you've got rhinitis, you're covered. Okay.
They're not going to mess around with that. Let's see. Okay, not now. Nicholas, let me deny them. Matt B, can I get service connected for chronic fatigue, even though VA doctors will never prescribe bed rest? I know it's presumptive and already in my VA problem list. I served in the Southwest Asian Theater. Yes, it's presumptive. If you have that diagnosis, they need to give you benefits. If you have that diagnosis, you served in that theater, end of story, you get it, okay? If you served in that theater and you have the symptoms of chronic fatigue syndrome, but no doctor says, hey, he's got it, he's just got these random symptoms, you win there, okay? This is heads you win, tails they lose, because that's still what's called, we call it Gulf War syndrome.
But this, if you're going to the VA and they're not going to give you whatever statement you need in order to get a high rating, then this is one case where you really need to say, I'm being treated and be treated by a private doctor. Have them said they've done whatever they can and you're still no better. So this is where it's worth the money to get that. I would try through the VA first. and come back and keep complaining. And I've seen them say that this is the best you're going to get. But if they don't, then you really need to spend the money for a private doctor. Do you want me to talk about, or we should talk about what happened this week while you're looking for that?
Yeah, let's see here. Yeah. So this was the big week where we had been excited to go to Washington to hear mainly to hear what the BVA chairman was going to say about their backlog, what they're working on, how that's working. We learned a bunch of other stuff, but that was kind of the focus. So what did you learn, Carol?
Well, the head, the VA has a way of coming out with edicts. You will do this. So the latest, okay, so we have, before the BVA, we have cases that were from the old way they did things called legacy, where you filed a VA-9. And then there are cases from the new AMA where you file a form, I think it's a 10, I can't remember the number. Anyway, where you can go hearing, direct, 90-day evidence or hearing, okay? And you file a different form. You don't file a VA-9. So all of the cases on appeal are divided into legacy and the new AMA. Well, the VA made an edict that all legacy cases will be decided by, I think it's what, 2023 or?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means that now the VA has had to throw, and what they decided to do is put 80% of their effort, 80% of the cases they do are legacy, and only 20% are the new AMA. And that means all the timelines we had before for when they will do the direct, the 90-day, and the hearing are out the window. And remember, in that 20%, they're doing advanced on the docket, where people are terminal, where they're homeless. So the normal person is going to be waiting quite a while before they get their decision. So this is going to be going on for at least the next.
Yeah. So numbers wise, BVA wrapped up or decided 100,000 cases last year. Their current backlog for the cases, for the legacy cases, is still 100,000. So they have 100,000 of those, but then they also have 100,000 of the AMA cases, and that is only going to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so at this point, we are, we're concerned because they basically are putting all their energy into this legacy system, which again, those that's been waiting, and I understand that, but the way they divided it up, this 80-20, is just so drastic. So,
but they don't have a choice. And
yeah.
The head chief judge, who I think really cares and really works hard, one of the problem is they don't have enough people, enough judges, enough staff. So they were just awarded 20 more judges, and they hope to get the staff with them. So she told me that the comment or the period to apply ended the day that she was there at the seminar, and the next day she was going to be doing interviews and getting people in. And then she was going to be able to do the staff to support those people. So more people are coming on board, but more cases are being filed. So she refused, because she didn't know, to tell us how long she thought it was going to take for anything to be done. She says direct, 90 days, hearings clearly are going to take a lot longer. But she said, we can't give you a date because we really don't know. Until we get the legacy cases done, we're back to only moving along slowly on the current AMA cases.
So the stretch goal, what they said was that this when you're in the AMA, you get to pick one of three lanes going to the board. The direct lane, like Carol said, where you don't submit any new evidence, you can submit an argument, but you go with what you had below. The 90-day evidence lane, meaning you file the appeal and you have 90 days to submit evidence, and then the hearing lane. So the goal was, with the direct, you would get a decision with 365 days, evidence 18 months, and then the hearings, they said, look, that's going to be what it is. It just depends on what the backlog is. So right now, there are way more people asking for hearings than the VA anticipated in this new system. It's up something like, it used to be 30%, and now it's 50%. So that's huge. And I don't really understand who's advising these people, because those hearing cases go behind the legacy hearing cases, which are going to take forever. So that
you're looking at 4 or 5 years. I can't even guess.
It's crazy. And then the interesting thing was, they said they are working a lot of direct cases. That's what they're trying to focus on and trying to keep the backlog down. But they're also saying that the BVA evidence cases, that's kind of not their focus at all because there's so few of those. So, you know, we're internally talking about which ones we'll take, but obviously what we want to do is do as many BVA direct as possible. But sometimes to do that, you got to cycle back through the regional office on a supplemental claim to do it. But
because remember, the direct, you cannot put any evidence in that wasn't before the first person that decided that case. So if you filed a 526 or a supplemental, no evidence can go in other than what that person has. That direct is very limited.
But if they're working those, I mean, so I guess I would tell any veteran I walked across the street, I have no idea why people are asking for hearings anymore. And I have no idea why they're more, because VA is punishing those people. They're saying, look, we'll give you one of these two other lanes, but if you ask for a hearing, you're going to the back of the boat, and we're not even going to pretend to give you a time frame for that. It's going to be forever. And
because we don't have a choice, we just don't have the manpower. They're not doing it to really punish them. They're doing it because they don't have any option.
Yeah.
So we're just telling you, think about that. Now, occasionally we have to ask for a hearing because people come to us and we have to file one of the three. They just came to us and we're worried about getting the C file and getting evidence. We know we need evidence. So we file for a hearing. And then when we get the evidence, we waive the hearing and put the evidence in again. But we don't have cases where we really want a hearing. Okay. We only do that when we absolutely have to. So please tell people legacy is going to be all of this coming year and into 2023. And then they're still going to have this huge backlog for directed evidence. And these hearing cases are going to be behind all that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've got to build up here a tsunami. So, you know, we don't have the exact, there's no exact formula for a case other than don't do a hearing. I mean, seriously, stay away from that as hard as you can. But I would try to win the case at the regional office, even if that means they deny you with supplemental and the higher level review. They have to give you what's called favorable findings, showing do you have a diagnosis? Do you have something happen in service? And then what you want to do is take that and maybe file a supplemental claim, getting the third piece in there. Or same thing with higher or increased rating, excuse me. You want to also say, okay, what did they say I have and I didn't have? I would try to do that because the supplemental claims are coming out 3 months or so.
Yeah.
And and then if that doesn't work, go to the direct line. This AMA is really difficult to figure out, both for what works legally and what works with the backlog. And so before, we realized HLR was pretty much a waste of time and we went right to the BVA. Well, with the backlog, the BVA, we're now thinking we go back to the supplemental lane. Hopefully we'll get a better decision or get some decision, but meanwhile we'll have gotten all the evidence. And when that decision is made one way or the other, we can go to the direct line. So, this is a work in progress. We're trying to figure out what's going to work in light of this actual situation right here with the board. All right. Back to some questions. Frank, I am a Vietnam vet on a destroyer of 220 men. There are no medical records while I was on the ship, just a corpsman. If that's the case, you need to start looking. I don't know what your disability is, but you need to start looking for buddy statements. If something happened to you, if the ship was attacked, if you fell, any buddy statement you can get while you're in service is what you're looking for there. Melvin filed a FOIA about my CMP exam and said no one in the office to get hard copies. So I don't know what that's about, but what I would say is I'd look on e-benefits and see if you can download it that way. Like it should be with your what is it, My Health Vet or Vet Health.
That may be there.
And they should be in one of those two places. 10 toes down, I could have presented my question better. By falsely claiming the veteran submitted private exams are inadequate, is BVA setting up itself for a queue? No,
the
because
BVA
they have a colorable, don't kill the messenger here, but they have a colorable argument that it was inadequate.
That's pretty standard.
Yeah, even it's total.
I've yet to hear everyone say, "Oh, this is adequate."
Right.
They're all inadequate in their opinion, somewhat.
Let's see. Does a rating of 94.5 round up to give the veteran 100% rating? We are lawyers, but we did sleep in a Holiday Inn, so we're going to do some math. And we're going to say yes, it should round up to give you 100%. 10 toes down. A Sergeant Stripe article states MST specialized center should be done by September 30th. but some people want to know for sure before they file. That's great to see. It says Ms. Grill is saying that there's 5 centers already set up, that her claim went to South Carolina back in June.
Wow.
That's wonderful. If Ms. Grill, you're willing to share any more thoughts on how that went for you, we'd love to hear that, because
We're not hearing that.
yeah, well, not just that.
We're
but
not seeing that.
the quality of service they gave you would be nice to hear. It's that time from first Gulf War. Is there a rating for Gulf War syndrome by itself? Yes, that's called chronically. I can't remember how to say it. Yes, it is. Basically, if you have some undiagnosed illness that can be objectively spotted, right? So like if you have trigger points, or you have headaches, or if you have a backache, or something like that. Yes, and if they are like, well, we can't give you a diagnosis, well, then that's Gulf War syndrome. So, and
remember, those are the ones that have been the most incorrectly rated.
Yeah.
So you need to file those again, and when you get effective date, try to go back for an earlier effective date under Q. Okay.
And you're saying not Gulf War illness. Well, so here's the thing: Gulf War syndrome, the Gulf War regs, which is 38 CFR 3.117, I believe. That is the only regulation under which you can get benefits for not having a diagnosis. Every other benefit you seek, you have to have something happen in service, a nexus, and a current diagnosis. Okay, so Gulf War is the exception to that. Jeremy, are examiners for C&P exams supposed to let you know how the exams went? I had a reval from QTC, and he vocalized that my review with him will help my reval. We hear that all the time, and hopefully that's good. You got to realize that the adjudicator still gets the last decision there. So even if you have a good exam, the adjudicator still can cut you out from under the knee. So,
and sometimes the examiners really don't know
what they're talking about.
Yeah, they don't know what will really help you and what won't. Because I've had examiners many times say things that will say that I'm going to help you. I really believe in your case, and then the person gets reduced. So sometimes I think the examiners don't really know.
Right.
And other times it's like they do put that in there for you. It is there, but the rater just decides I'm not going to go with that. I've seen them totally ignore what's in the C&P exams, which is why you always need to get a copy of them to know what you're dealing with.
I'd say case in point on this is a migraines case. I think it's like a 3 to 5 page DBQ that they fill out. There's only one thing they really look at, and that's, are your migraines prostrating, and for how long? Prostrating basically just means
you have to lie down.
You have to lie down.
And have you missed work? It's an economic.
Right. So they can fill out everything else that looks like it's in your favor.
Pain, can't take light.
Yeah, all that stuff. But if they don't write that down.
And it's just 2 checks.
Yeah. So they can say, wow, look, this is really, really bad, and mean it. But if they didn't check those 2 boxes, then you're not going to get your benefit.
And when they talk about prostrating, sometimes they don't realize we're talking about lying down.
Prostrating. I think that's a bad word. Or the other. Prostrating, right? Prostrating.
Whatever it means. That's what it says in the form, and it means lying down, a recliner, a lazy boy. And if you don't tell them that, and if they don't know that, then that's the wrong box.
And they use that word, and 98% of us either don't know it or don't know how to say it. So that's what's difficult. If they ask you to lie down, you'd be like, yeah. But if they ask you to say prostrating, you'll say, well,
what does that mean?
You won't know. You'll say no. They'll mark that, and then boom, highest you can get is 0 or 10%.
10%.
All right, Old Sergeant. Private physician DBQ is evaluated for higher rating than the one that C&P exam completed. Now there are 2 DBQs in my claim. Will the VA go with the higher rated DBQ or the C&P examiners? I mean, that's the whole benefit of the doubt thing. If they're equal, then they would. But then we also go back to, I think 10 dose down talked about this, having an inadequate exam. So if the VA can find the favorable exam for yours to be inadequate for some reason, and again, some reason is you drive a truck through whatever that hole is. So
I would say 99% of the time they're going to go with the C&P exam.
Yeah. So
that the BVA, no, but the regional office, yes.
Okay, and then Jeremy was saying, same with my rhinitis claim. Examiner was wondering why I was approved at my initial claim in 2018. Records show many visits to he's saying why would records show many visits to medical and medication issued when I was in and at the VA. Again, The examiner does not have the schedule of ratings. They don't have the actual ratings you should be given. Okay. So if they're saying, what's going on here? Why weren't you service connected? Well, his DBQ might not have said, this is related to service and here's a strong reason why, other than your statement. And then if it's the rating's wrong, well, they don't know what to put. They just fill out this dumb form. And then most of those forms, you're doing 3, 4, 5 pages and only 2 questions matter. So that's frustrating them. Sarge Mooch, hello, Helen Ponton, welcome back. Missed y'all last week. Still active station in VA. I watch you every week from Orlando. Maybe I should stop by when I'm in town. Thanks for helping. I'll retire next year. Well, we appreciate your comments. Our office, unfortunately, is still shut down, but we're hoping to have it up again.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe you can stop by then. Matt B, if I file chronic fatigue syndrome and secondary depression, will it be 1 CMP exam or will they do 2?
If I file chronic fatigue secondary to depression?
No, secondary depression to chronic fatigue.
Oh, no, that's because that's 2 different issues. You're going to get 2 different CMP exams.
Yeah. Important thing on the depression when you go, they're not going to tell, the rater will probably not tell the examiner what they're supposed to be looking at. So you want to say, hey, look, this is due to my chronic fatigue syndrome. I'm not saying it's due to service because they'll just quickly deny it.
Right. It's really a waste of time because I have seen so many exams where the veteran said, I have depression secondary to this condition. But then the whole CMP exam says, in service, there was no depression. There wasn't service with depression within a year after discharge, and therefore there's no service connection for the depression. They don't even know what the issue is. So you always need to make sure that they understand why you're there.
John Johnson, when I entered Army, the medical station gave me a waiver to enter for flat feet. I showed the aggravation, but got denied. So you got to show that if they noted that on your exam, then you still have what's called a presumption of aggravation, and you got to show that it was aggravated. Then the VA has to say it was not aggravated beyond the normal course of the disability. Okay?
So they have the burden of proof,
which is very important.
At the regional office, they don't give it to you, but they're supposed to do that at the VBA.
Well, they're supposed to do that anywhere, but
right, but it doesn't happen at the regional.
So they need to give actual reasoning as to why that was
normal for the normal path of aggravation, and that it wasn't aggravated beyond that. So maybe incidents that happened in service, you can get buddy statements for that, how it changed while you were in service for buddy statements and for you to make a statement.
Brian L., I'm rated 74%. I really feel the VA is now purposely denying my claims to keep me below 80%. Is that common or am I running into bad luck? Well,
they're not that organized.
They're not that organized to be spiteful there. But what is happening here is what's so frustrating is the closer you get to 100%, the harder it is to get to 100%.
Yes.
Because one rating on top, one new rating doesn't bump you up much at all. I tell people they get to 90% and they get a 40% rating. That's only 94 and they're still 90%. So it's crazy. I mean, that's why most of the vets we work with, if they're up that high, they typically are in really, really bad shape. And that's why we look to see if they can work. If they can't, we ask for unemployability. And then you skip all this. If you're at 70% and you can't work, then they skip you and put you right to 100%.
Which is the same as the scheduler 100%, except you can't be working. So if you're not working, you should be trying for that because that's the easy one to get versus the scheduler 100%.
Yeah. James Humbert, shoulder needs surgery after 9 years. Should I put this in for increase? Yes, you should at least get a temporary increase from the VA, which is 3 months or so.
Well, it's convalescence. How long is it going to take for the shoulder to heal? So you want to put a claim for convalescence, and it depends on which shoulder. Remember, if you have a shoulder replacement, then you're going to get a higher rating than you would if, say, you had just where they went and did some repairs, and then they're going to rate it the way they normally do. So if they replace the knee, then they don't evaluate it totally on range of motion or weakness like they did before. A replaced knee is an automatic 30%. So for your shoulder or whatever surgery you're going to have, you want to file for convalescence. So how long does the doctor say you're going to need to convalesce? And you should be paid at the rate of 100% just for that problem during that period. And then the VA should reevaluate you. And for replacements of all parts of your body, there's a standard amount that you get, which is usually more than you would get if they just did range of motion or something like that. So definitely you should apply for the convalescence. So what you do is you tell them, you send them, you can either apply before the surgery or you can apply and send them a copy of the operation note.
And what Carol said was subtly was really interesting in that she said, just for that disability, you should be at 100%. Okay. So if it's just your shoulder, that's 100%. But if you have other disabilities that combine to 60%, then not only should you be getting 100% during that time, but SMCS. So another $300 a month or so.
And one you should think about is aid and attendance. You know, aid and attendance, like if you had your shoulder replaced, your right shoulder, and you're right-handed, you're not going to be able to use that shoulder for quite a while. So you may need somebody to help you do everything with that shoulder. So those are, so you can get, in addition to what you were getting, aid and attendance and all sorts of things during that period. Just depends on how long it is.
Right. Okay, John Gold was rated 100% for heart disease, but 0 for hypertension. Why would they rate 0 for hypertension when I have a history and I'm on meds for high blood pressure? High blood pressure, I mean, yeah, we can't get into their heads, but high blood pressure, first of all, it'd have to be hypertension, not high blood pressure, but you would be at 10% if
that's the most you get unless your blood pressure is so high that you're a walking stroke. Yeah. So the hypertension is not, it's not that you get that much for hypertension itself. It's what hypertension causes. Is it causing chronic kidney disease? Is it giving you a stroke? Is it causing heart problems? That's the thing about hypertension. It's the key to getting all these other issues, service-connected problems that hypertension causes. And those are the ones you want to make sure you're fully rated for.
Okay, let's see. Lenine, I apologize.
Where are you?
Someone up. Hello, I haven't worked since August 19 due to my service-connected issues. I'm currently at 70% awaiting the VA results for my third disability file claim. Should I apply for TDIU? Yes,
and apply anytime you think you're entitled. Apply right away, because remember, there's a big, before we think the law has always been that if you have a 70% rating, combined rating, and these issues keep you from working, then the VA should have considered you for unemployability. You don't even have to file a claim. Well, that's not what they're doing now. Under the new law, they're taking the position you have to file a claim and your benefits start the month after that. So as soon as you think, or as soon as you stop working, file a claim. Please don't wait. And it takes forever. For 6 years, I've been working a case that I just called up and said, hey, you won, you got IU all the way back. We have been up and back and up and back. But they're going to get benefits all the way back because we filed right away and we continued the claim.
Jason, I'd like to thank you all for handling my appeal. Submitted on July 29th, had CMP on September 14th. Closed my claim on 27th of August. I think that might be 27th of this month. Waiting on decision through the mail. Couldn't have done this without H&P help, without getting frustrated and dealing with all the paperwork and handling my PTSD.
Thank you so much.
We're happy to help. Our kind of slogan, informal slogan is, let us handle the claim and y'all handle your health. But that is, PTSD can make that especially frustrating.
Yes.
K.A. Asher, if I get 60% upgrade for the rash, that will put me at 100%. I'll also have a diagnosis for IBS and chronic sinusitis. Should wait and see how the upgrade goes or file them on now. If they're related to service and you're going for 100% straight, file it on now.
There is no reason to wait. A lot of people, I don't know where this is coming from, where this thought process is. I think that someone is telling people, if you file, then it'll slow up adjudication on your other claim. That's not true. Remember, it's electronic now. So one person can be working on paying you benefits for another claim, another person can be doing your new claim, and another person can be doing the appeal all at the same time. So never, never wait. File right away. It does not hurt you. It can only harm you to wait. If there's one thing you ever take away from us is file right away for everything you think you're entitled to. What?
Maybe not everything.
Everything you think that you're entitled to,
Okay,
I think that's legitimately you should file for.
Yeah, but then pare it down after that.
Well, if
you focus on the issues that get you close to 100%. Difference of opinion. Because if you're fighting for 5 years to get yourself hypertension service connected, and you've got a great TBI claim, You get that hypertension service connected at 10%, great. But the TDI claim can get you 70%, 100%, or it could get you up to special monthly
I said
compensation.
file for everything.
I'm just saying.
And the hypertension gets you all these other little things. But if you get a 0 for hearing loss, and you remember, if you have 0 hearing in one ear and you have some problem with your other ear, that's a 10% rating. Those are the things you don't want to go after. Okay, if you have 10% for tinnitus, that's all you're going to get. So you're right, don't go after things like that, but file everything, pursue all that will give you a real benefit.
You heard it here first. All right, SAVPAM. Have you seen an issue with the VA ignoring private opinions outright? Yes.
Yep.
Brian,
That's standard.
Yeah, just keep on appealing. Say, hey, you totally missed this.
And if you can get the private opinion to give a comment on the CAP exam, why it was inadequate, that's the best thing to do.
Yeah. Brian L., if I collect a pension, would I be eligible for TDIU?
Yes.
Yes. I'm currently working, but my TBI and depression and anxiety is going to make me to work. I don't know how much longer. Yes. Any passive income does not count. Rodney, I was rated 30% for other depression disorder back in 2016. Now in 2021, I'm diagnosed with PTSD at 70%. I was told by CMP exam that I was misdiagnosed. Should I file for an earlier start due to misdiagnosis? No. If you had some way to go back to that 2016 claim, great, but it's not on a misdiagnosis. It's on, was that claim still open? Because you're being paid on the same schedule that you would be paid on for any mental health condition. So it doesn't matter
what they called it.
What matters is if that claim is somehow still open.
And you can get a higher rating, whatever you call it.
Yeah. Darian Johnson, do we still deal with Social Security disability? Unfortunately, after 30 some years, we just closed that section as of October 1st. So we've gotten out of that to try to focus purely on VA benefits. We can't get enough people to help us with VA claims. And we turn away great claims every week.
Yes.
It's just a function of us not having enough.
So we're trying to put all of our Social Security people into the VA section. And we're still trying to hire more people to help us with VA.
24 Mossberg, I was helped by these lawyers and staff and received fair treatment and support. Good folks.
Thank you.
Hope you're talking about us, but that's great.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Where are you?
Look at this one. JS Rabayo. Okay. CMP exam tomorrow for sleep apnea, secondary to PTSD. VA administered sleep study completed by CPAP machine needed. VA outsourced medical doctor rules in my favor. Will I get denied tomorrow? If the medical doctor ruled in your favor and said it was secondary to PTSD, they don't have a legal basis to deny it. Does that mean they won't deny it? They very well could.
But it's likely that you will be approved.
You should be approved, yeah. Okay, is there a VA rating for hypogonadism? I don't know.
I always have to look things up.
Yeah, I think hopefully Efrain put down the schedule of ratings in here somewhere. He did. So I would look in that. Schedule, yeah, he just put it right below there. Check that out. Tony, thanks for taking my case, Matthew. Onward and upward. I received a large packet from the VA. Should be my C file. I'll find out in a few days when I have it forwarded to me. Great. Yeah, if it's a big package, that's usually what it is. Iris F, should I appeal if the examiner said I do not have any complaints of sleep apnea in my record? Found proof back in 2006 in my records from my C file that had a recent diagnosis of appeal. Yes, you should appeal. Peter, I just did my hearing test for tinnitus, but no definite thing in my records for proof. I was around loud aircraft noises, but not because of my MOS. Am I still needing proof from my family doctor? I think the proof you need is the MOS and what, if you were a clerk, administrative clerk. And
did you work in the hangar?
Yeah. Or if you can get a buddy statement saying, yeah, he was out in hangar seeing me a lot, or, we were administrative clerks, but we always had to run things out there, or we were going out to talk to our boss on the flight line. So that's probably where you need to go on that. You probably need to show stronger evidence of how your MOS.
And then you want to get your doctor to, based on that, say they think that you're service connected.
Yeah. And
be ready to appeal it. But remember, you're only looking at 10% there.
Yeah.
So if you're going to put your effort into something, make sure it's something that's going to give you a high rating.
Jason Smith, any suggestions on how I get my C file amid a reduction of staff at National Archives? It's been 2 years. Okay, so Getting stuff from the National Archives is a disaster right now. They are so far behind. They think they're still on skeleton crew. They basically were closed for months due to COVID. And so they are talking 2 to 3 to 4 years right now to get stuff out of that. Your C file, though, shouldn't be coming from there. It should be coming from the National Personal Record Center. So that should not be
That's in St. Louis.
And we were told they're actually digitizing all those records, and that the VA has its own repository now, so that, it might not be your records yet, but your records should be able to come through the VA and not the National.
So I'd write to the VA and ask for a copy of your claim file, and to St. Louis. Because what we were told is, like Matt said, all of these records are digitized, and the VA should have them and be able to send them to you. We should be able to download them off their e-folder. And because I don't know what you can see when you're online, you should go through all of those records, VA, and see what's actually up there, because I don't know. We didn't ask him if they're going to put them on the.
I don't know.
We don't know, but you should look just in case.
Okay. So is depression ever considered without being a direct or secondary, I guess, claim? Husband, 83, service connected in August with both tinnitus and hearing loss, 10% tinnitus, 0 for hearing loss, buddy letters, no depression. So I'm not quite understanding. It has to be primary, direct related service, or secondary. To me, you can definitely have secondary related to tinnitus or hearing loss, because those are very isolating issues you run into.
Right.
But if you've got buddy letters saying that they're related to service, then you have a potential for direct service connection.
So you can try for both, but it's often easier to get it secondary to hearing loss, because that is very depressing. People miss out on life every day. But I would try both if you think that both are legitimate.
Michael Finn, my legacy appeal / remand BVA was merged with an appeal at the AMA. So I guess I'll be waiting for 5 years. You've already had the hearing go through, so then it shouldn't be waiting. But if you did not sign something saying you wanted it to be with that, then I would fight that and say this should not be in the AMA. If you did.
If you filled out the AMA form saying. Yeah,
it's going to be a while, unfortunately.
Right.
Okay, Jacques. Oh, you had a first question. Here it is. Second C.
First denied for no link. Got second good nexus from evaluating doctor and treating doctor. At CMP, examiner kept bitching, was I sure IBDS wasn't from service connection 20% for the shoulder? Like first examiner was saying, was this a test?
Or suggestion to refile. Although when I gave him my nexus from treating doc, he calmed down and asked to keep it. Okay.
I'd wait and see what he does, but what was he denied for?
His shoulder or his back? His back and his shoulder. If you get denied, then yeah, you could refile for supplemental claim. I guess I'd consider that, but hopefully, but you need to see what the doctor says if he doesn't say anything, because
maybe he's trying to award you. But sometimes in the CMP exams, the examiner says they should be service connected for this issue. So you always want to read that. I don't know if he was trying to say something like that. Are you sure it isn't this?
Okay, I skipped way ahead here. Sorry about that. Appeal points. Okay, any suggestions on how I can get my C file? We just did that. Okay, is depression ever considered? Yep, did that. I'd like to appeal. So in your opinion, with the new changes at VBA, are more or less are the VBA changes more or less favorable to vets? So like the supplemental claims and the higher level reviews. We used to have our whole practice in the regional office because we found that we could get our vets what they needed the fastest. And we hated going to the BVA because that was a 2 to 3 year wait that we had no control over. So, but we were very hard and strong with our evidence in the regional office. It's just not
now
received the same now.
Yeah, it used to be that the first people may deny you, but the second reviewers often were seasoned reviewers, and they knew what to do and they gave benefits. I'm not finding that. I'm finding that the first person may usually, I don't know what you're going to get. And the second, the HLR is usually just a total waste unless it's an effective date or a duty to assist error. So I think it's been very unfavorable. I would go back to the old system in a minute. They talk about how long it took. Well, guess what? This new system's taken the same amount of time and it's not as favorable. And they've taken away some basic rights, like we had before. So unfavorable.
So Jeremy, do you know the average how long claims process after exams evidence is submitted?
No rhyme or reason. I've seen them turn it around the next day and I've seen them still sitting there 9, 10, 12 months later.
Ms. K, do you have to have 100% VA disability in order to apply Social Security disability? Nope. Michael Finn, the BVA or VA are putting cases in the hearing lane without the veteran requesting this.
Low.
Yeah, is that not normal, or is my case in the hearing lane without me asking?
I've been complain. Every VA-9 I filed, I never asked for a hearing, and every one of them has gone in the hearing lane. And we did not even know that until starting May or June when we first got access to the BVA online. I have no idea why it's happening, but it's happening in every single case. So
I do think they would be very receptive to you calling, emailing, writing, and saying, I want this out. I never put this in.
Yeah, right. I don't think so.
Well, no, because they don't want hearings. Remember, that's what they're getting judged.
Hello, I've written on every one of these cases, and
I do it anyway.
I do it.
Pessimistic.
No, you want to do it. You want to get out of the hearing lane, but I'm telling you, it hasn't moved my client's case up one bit.
Well, yeah.
And I say my client should be moved up because they've been in the wrong lane through your fault all this time. Nothing.
Are they extending time period for Persian Gulf beyond this year? Yes.
Yes.
Michael Finn, I would ask you to tell all veterans to call and find out. He's talking about yes, I would too, in the hearing lane or not, and call your congressman because that's a way for them just to hide your case. Donnie, hi, what is considered a secondary claim? So for a secondary claim, essentially you have to have something that's service connected. Like these people are talking about tinnitus, hearing loss, PTSD, your back. Once you have that service connected, if those cause any problems, okay? So the one we talk about a lot here is PTSD. If you have that and it causes sleep apnea, well, the sleep apnea didn't happen in service, wasn't related directly to service, but it is related directly to that PTSD, which is service connected.
And if you look at your illnesses, it's amazing how many are related. Diabetes can cause hypertension. Hypertension can cause diabetes. Diabetes can cause dementia, peripheral neuropathy. I mean, there are all sorts of things that they can cause. So you really it can cause depression. So you ought to Google if you have a service-connected problem and then you have another diagnosis, you ought to Google to see if there's a relationship between them.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to do just a couple more here, hopefully from folks we haven't had a chance to answer. Susan Lee, just had a CNP exam for neurogenic bladder secondary to my back. I denied the anus and rectum exam due to my current hemorrhoids condition, which is at 20%. Will they reject my claim?
No.
It's your bladder.
They're not talking
about. If they do, then I think that's an appeal you keep fighting. Let's see, folks we haven't heard. Anita Meyer, so frustrating. Administration is proposing funds for IRS workers to monitor Americans' personal bank department of 600. How about administrative budget to hire VA workers to help vets process claims? I'd love to see that in the Board of Veterans Administration Appeal, that they give money to hire more people because they're going to need it. We're all going to be behind.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see here. Victor, I'm 80%. Got denied for anxiety and sleep apnea, saying they're not service connected. Where do I go from here?
What are you service connected for at 80%? And are those problems causing the depression, the anxiety, the sleep apnea? And I would look and get some medical articles to support that, because probably if you have pain because your knee hurts every time you walk and you can't do things, that's going to cause anxiety and depression. Just about any physical problem can cause anxiety and depression. The anxiety and depression causes sleep apnea. So yes, get these medical treatises and get them in. And if you can, get an opinion from a doctor.
Okay. Let's see, maybe three more. Greg D, does age matter with TDIU? Nope.
Nope.
In their regs, they cannot consider it. They wrote the rule. Miss Grill in Maryland. Miss Grill was the one who's telling us about the MST clinics and the MST review centers. Requests from South Carolina for my C-file, South Carolina requested on June 7th, claim closed, very successful, June 16th.
That's great.
Well, that's great to hear.
That is great.
Any more updates? I mean, obviously we don't have all the information, but that's wonderful for all the folks here who are dealing with personal assault in service. So thank you for letting us know that.
Because these are questions we've asked and we get different answers out in Washington. So to know that this is really going on is great.
Okay. We missed this question by Darren Stir. Good afternoon. 0% rating for hypertension, but have been on medication for years. No real way to validate BP, blood pressure. How do I get the VA to revisit this rating? Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes, please like and subscribe. Thank you.
Hypertension is just one of those funny things in that most people have a 0% or a 10% rating. And the way that the regulation, the schedule of disabilities is written, it's really hard to get more than that. But back to what Carol said is if you're suffering from ailments other than that, diabetes, heart condition, it's almost innumerable, the problems that it can cause peripheral artery disease. You need to look at those.
Diabetes. I mean, there's so many. Why don't you pull up your labs and see if you may have chronic kidney disease? For some reason, doctors don't tend to tell people they have chronic kidney disease until it gets to be in the third or fourth stage, which is not good. And you can tell by looking at creatinine or the eGFR in your lab reports. It will show that they're high or your BUN is high. So look at those. You could have chronic kidney disease. You can have a heart problem. There are all sorts of things that if you've had hypertension this long, and if it's bad, it's very likely you have a number of problems from that. And that's where you need to focus your energy, not on raising the hypertension from 0 to 10, but from getting these others that will give you 100% on any one of them alone.
Because even if you are on medication, it's likely that you could be having these secondary problems.
Right.
All right, last one. Brian L. They rated my TBI, anxiety, and depression together, gave me a rating of 50%. Is this common?
Yes.
Or should they be rated separately?
It's common, but it shouldn't be. What they're saying, if we can't separate them, then we just put them together. So if you can show separately, TBI causes this, but PTSD causes this, and they're separate and distinct, then they should rate them separately. And that's what you need. You need to get a doctor to say that for you, exactly what comes from PTSD and what comes from TBI.
Yeah. Okay, folks, thanks so much for joining us today. It was great to be back. We missed you last week. And hopefully, we didn't get the, dead on numbers from the BVA, but I think we did get a good understanding of where to start putting your claims and what to do.
And why we're having this problem.
Yeah. And again, we always appreciate the information you give us. Clearly, we don't know everything. So, the more that we can learn together, the better I think we can all be, both y'all handling your claims and us handling our vets claims. So thank you again. And you have a wonderful